Welcome back to another episode of Maximum Lawyer. I'm Tyson Mutrux, and today I want to talk about storytelling. And this comes from a presentation that I saw Peter Guber give years ago. And I've thought about this a lot over the years. And so I've been thinking about it a lot lately because we've been focusing more on video and how to improve our videos. And so I wanted to pass on what I learned from that presentation to you. And if you don't know who Peter Guber is, I'll get into that in a little bit. Before I do get into it, I want to remind everyone and want to encourage you. I would love to hear from you. 314-501-9260. 314-501-9260. It doesn't matter if you've been doing this for years or if you're just now starting your law practice, or maybe you're thinking about starting your law practice. If you have something you want me to cover, shoot me a text, or you can go to maximumlawyer.com/ask. You can send me a video, an audio message. You can send me a text, whatever is best for you. I would love to hear from you. Okay, so what I want to do, Peter Guber, I want to go over this really what the sequence of a great story. Okay, and so Peter Guber, he's author of a book called Tell to Win, but he's also a movie producer that has really produced some really big movies over the years. And so if you don't know who Peter Guber is, I actually didn't know who Peter Guber was whenever I first saw him speak, and then I looked into him. He's got some pretty big movies under his belt. So check him out. He's a very interesting human being. Seeing him speak was really interesting too. He's kind of quirky, kind of odd. I think sort of kind of what you'd expect from someone that is, a Hollywood type. So he's a very interesting person. I would give you some examples, some of the movies. So some of the more recent ones, you got the Big George Foreman. That doesn't look like that one did too well, according to IMDb. Air, the movie about Nike, that was a really good one. I didn't realize he had something to do with I Know What You Did Last Summer, The Last Dance. There's lots of them. He's got, I think it's 72 that he was a producer on. So he's got a lot of different things that he has worked on. So, but let's get into the sequence of a great story according to Peter Guber. So check out his book Tell to Win. But if you ever get a chance to watch him speak, you should totally do it, because it's a very interesting. He gives a very interesting presentation, and the way he put it, he will ruin movies forever for you. But I'm not going to go into the reason for that, because he kind of talks about how a movie is supposed to start and supposed to end, and he really kind of broke down what makes a good movie versus a bad movie. I'm not going to get into all that, but I'm really just going to get into the storytelling part of this. And the way the story begins, and the reason why I think this is applicable is that I think we can apply a lot of this to our videos, right? And the videos that we put out there on YouTube or wherever you put out your videos, you can design these in a way that are at least somewhat entertaining. I think that having somewhat of an entertaining video for your potential clients to watch is important. So, but a good story starts with a challenge. Okay, so you begin it with some sort of challenge, an obstacle, or a question. And the reason why this is because you're going to engage the audience's curiosity, you're going to prompt empathy, and you're really going to want to immediately capture the audience's emotional attention. He talks a lot about injecting emotion into it and capturing the emotional attention of the audience. An example, so I threw in some examples of that we could maybe do for, I do personal injury, so I threw in some examples for personal injury. So, if you start with a question, what would you do if your life changed forever in a split second? So you immediately kind of catches their attention right off the bat. And then the next part of this is what he calls the struggle. And this is where you start to introduce characters who face real difficulties, and they're going to have to fight to overcome what the challenge is. And this is this is where the audiences, they identify deeply with that struggle. Okay, so they see the struggle, they start to identify with the struggle, and then this starts to have them emotionally invest in that character's journey or characters' journeys. An example of this might be after her car crash, Sarah battled with insurance company denials. She had crushing bills and physical pain that bothered her every single day. So you're starting to inject Sarah into this story. And then the next part of this would be the resolution. Okay. And this is where you provide a turning point. It's a clear turning point, he says. And this is really the climax of your story. And this is that pivotal moment when the conflict, it reaches its peak and it offers that emotional release or inspiration. So it could be the release that audience is sort of looking for, or some sort of inspiration. So this is where you've got, we got the kind of setup where we talked about the life changing in a split second, and we introduced Sarah into the story. And then but then we found the critical evidence that the insurance company had been ignoring all along. Something along those lines, right? Then you move into the transformation, where this is where you clearly articulate the impact on Sarah or the lesson learned from the situation. And what this step does, it shows a powerful emotional or situational change for the main character. Okay? So this is where you bring Sarah back in. Sarah didn't just recover physically, she reclaimed her life, her dignity, and her hope. And so we've got that transformation, right? We got that key element. We got her the money she needs, and so she kind of got that. She got that hope back. She got her dignity back. She got her life back. And then the last part of this, and I thought this was kind of interesting because he calls it a call to action. It's interesting in a storytelling, context. I've never really heard of it called call to action, but that's what he calls it. And this is where you end with some sort of explicit or implicit invitation to the audience to reflect or act or change in some way. And this gives your story more of a practical, meaningful outcome beyond just the narrative itself, right? So you're adding sprinkling a little magic dust on top. So, for example, if you're someone you love, has faced injustice yourself, no, you don't have to fight alone, right? That's where you hear something like that in a lot of injury lawyer commercials, which I think is kind of interesting. That's probably what colored a little bit of how I designed that element of it, but you can choose your own call to action. So the sequence is, I'll go through it again, quick recap. You got your challenge, your struggle, your resolution, your transformation, and then your call to action. There's a quote from Guber: powerful story sequence doesn't merely entertain, it moves hearts, inspires change, and ultimately transforms passive listeners into active participants. This is the heart and soul of storytelling, the formula that unlocks emotional engagement and lasting impact. He is really, really big on the emotional aspect of things. So I thought that was kind of a fun one that I wanted to cover today. So hopefully you got something from that, and you can start to reshape some of your videos to improve them. And remember, it's small little changes. You don't have to adopt all these at one time, but it's the small little changes that can maybe help with some of this. So, quick reminder, shoot me a text. Would love to hear from you, 314-501-9260. Also, I've not been asking a lot about this lately, but I'd love it if you'd give us a Google review. Hopefully you're enjoying the new format of the episodes, where we've got the Saturday episode and the Tuesday episode. Most of the Tuesdays are in person. I know from a visual standpoint, they are pretty damn good. I think that the content's pretty damn good too. Hopefully you're getting something from it. I would love this to be able to spread to people all over the country, all over the world, to help law firm owners achieve the goals that they want to achieve. So hopefully you'll be willing to spread the love and give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. That's all I have for us this week. Until next week, remember that consistent action is the blueprint that turns your goals into reality. Take care, everybody.